in here, I'm going to basically take you through kind of an intro to working on your breathing. So breathing is something that can get really complex, and I don't really think it needs to get so complex, especially when we're talking about the intro. So there's going to be some oversimplifications, but just bear with me. And this is really geared towards, for those of you guys that are taking my online Kinstretch program, you just got your Mobility 101 program. It's kind of dropping soon. So, these are all things that should be addressed within that. So try to take these little details and apply them to that. And if you have any questions, just reach out. So first off, we want to think about breathing in terms of almost like an internal stretch or an internal mobilization. So by actually filling all the way up, we also are going to get the benefit of strength training. What we're doing with that is we're actually strength training your diaphragm. Everybody thinks about the diaphragm as this separate kind of unicorn, but it's really just another muscle in the body that kind of has a very important function. So in terms of any muscle that we're going to build, we're going to work on reps, right? We're going to work on duration. We're going to work on time under tension. We're going to work on variability, and we're going to work on different positions and exercises, right? So it was really just thinking about breathing in terms of that has really been a game changer for myself. So in through your nose is definitely something that we really want. That doesn't mean that you couldn't practice breathing through your mouth, because it needs to be an option that's attainable. But at the same time, 99% of your breathing should be done through the nose, especially throughout the day. And it's really, really going to help you when you do it that way. So we have our sympathetic and our parasympathetic nervous system. One of them is going to be your fight or flight. And we don't want to be in a fight or flight mode while we're at our desks, while we're taking a shower, while we're done with our workout, right? So the idea of learning how to breathe properly, especially longer exhales, is going to help us with down regulating, which is going to improve your recovery process and allow you to actually enjoy all the hard work that you just put in. So going absolutely ham for 45 minutes at the gym, running home, going straight into something for work, or arguing with someone, or this or that, you're not going to promote the recovery, and that workout that you just worked really hard is not really going to get you there as far as you'd like it to. So down regulation is going to be a huge key. Now, we talked about filling all the way up. We want to think about your inhale starting in the nose. Even though this might not be the exact path that happens, what I want you to focus on is actually filling down almost like a lower quadrant, and then the middle, and then the top, and then even that upper back or behind your neck. So trying to actually get that expansion of the rib cage will actually move the spine and almost mobilize it from the inside out, which is a really beautiful thing to pair up with your movement. So as you do that, we can work on holds. We can work on just getting reps in. So you could go really fast, you could go really slow. We can also think about breaking it down into the quadrants, fifths, sevenths, 7.5s if you want. I'm joking, but you get the point, right? So we can fill up just that quarter, exhale. Fill up half. Fill up 3/4, fill up all 4. You can really break that down, and it's just the same thing as working on a different part of your range of motion for your hip. Now, with our breathing too, what we really want to be able to focus on, especially for users that are stressed, is the ability to fully exhale. So when I actually breathe all the way in, I can also let my spine move, as I mentioned before. So I can be in some flexion here, and then as I inhale, I can actually lift my rib cage up so I can fill up even more, expand, and then most importantly, as I said, don't just run out of breath after a little bit of exhales. Try to fully get rid of everything. Most people are going to get a little bit of a crampy sensation in their stomach because your diaphragm is not used to fully exhaling and actually working in that manner, which is exactly why we need to make sure that we can do that. So you can work on holds. Say I breathe all the way in maximally, right? So I fill everything up, spine's as long as possible, the inside out is even working, all the musculature around my rib cage, my diaphragm, all these great things that are underutilized are holding me in place. So it's an isometric, right? Then I can fully exhale out, and I can even flex. I can pull my belly button to the bottom of my spine, and now I can work on holding this position. I could also maintain extension while I hold the full exhale. The options are endless in terms of this. Now, another thing that we want to consider is positionally. The way that I breathe is way different than it is here, than when it's in my squat, than when I'm in the 90-90, and when I'm even flat on my back. So this is a great position. This is one of the top ones that I'm going to kind of say for you guys. If you could, or you needed to, you could put something, a yoga block or a pillow, sit on it, and that'll allow you to be a little bit taller, and it'll take some stress off of the hips if this position is uncomfortable for you. So another position that I want to go over in detail is really just laying flat on your back. So as I get flat on my back, a lot of us are going to have so much tension in our front side and everything in the front that they're pulling us here. They might even be so short in the neck that it's actually pulling your chin up. And being able to get into a good position here might be very, very hard for someone. So we talked about the idea of down regulation, right? And that's just a fancy way of saying your muscles are fixed in a direction, there's a ton of tension in them, and they're ramping up almost unconsciously, right? So what we can do is gain awareness of those tensions in those positions and see if we can actually get a relaxation, a melting, a sensation that allows us to get the double chin, to flatten out that upper back and upper neck, and even promote length. So it's going to be different for everyone, but in the ideal situation, my lower back right now has a natural kind of 30-degree-ish curve, right? So I can get my hand under here. If you're a little bit bigger, maybe you can't get your hand under there. It's no big deal. Just think about actually finding that neutral position. And it's even more so about really where your sacrum is, right? So the bottom of my spine right here, my pelvis is in alignment with my rib cage. So my pelvis is in a good position to integrate with my rib cage, allowing that filling up of the cylinder, that canister of pressure. So when you're thinking about your core, if you can't maintain this position of breathing, are you going to maintain it with 135 pounds on your back or a band pulling you that way? Probably not. So it's a prerequisite too if you want to think about it like that. So here's a great position to start in, right? Nice and flat, I'm on my back. Could work on just my breath. I can work on filling all the way up. Because my diaphragm is different in terms of the orientation of gravity, I don't have to work so much vertical force here. I'm actually working on the ground. So the ability to get everything to expand and exhale this way is going to be different and most likely easier too. So you can work on this as a regression. Now from here, there's a couple of things that I can do. One, if you're really tight in the chest, I can work on just getting to 90 degrees. A lot of us are not even going to be able to get to that position. They're going to be here, and they're not going to be able to completely relax, or it's going to cause their rib cage to flare up, and we're going to lose that curve in the lower back that we were looking for. It's going to be hyperextended. So we want to try to get to this position, see if you can breathe here, see if you can keep everything in a good spot. We can even change the angle, so I can be in every single angle. If I externally rotate the shoulder more, then I'm going to end up with more of a stretch on my chest, so I can do that as well. My favorite way to work on this is here. This is something I got from Flowbility and Pillar Principles online. Big fan of them on IG. So what they try to emphasize a lot is creating space in the upper back. And what happens here is when we get into this position, people have a really hard time maintaining that double chin, that retraction, and they also have a hard time with protraction of the shoulder blades. So what I'm looking to have happen is my shoulder blade to upwardly rotate and even protract forward up to the ceiling. So it's as if I'm reaching my shoulder blades forward. So the opposite of a bench press, right? So I don't want to squeeze my shoulder back. I want them to reach. When I reach, does it cause me to flatten out my lower back? Do I do this with my chin? Or what other things are happening that take me out of that good positioning? So I can work on that. I could have my hands here, like an Eldoa kind of thing. I could do them here, here, here. Again, options are endless. There's not one right way to do it. But what I really like is what they like to do is here. And now I'm getting a lot of serratus. So this is pulling the scap up even more and elevating here. And then I can even do a little bit of a shrug. So if I shrug my shoulder blades and retract my chin, think about my upper back. I got my shoulder blades out of the way. Then I pulled my chin back into the ground and my upper back into the ground. So I'm really creating space in my upper back. And then when I go into my breathing, I have that space created and I can expand that space by really from the inside out as we talked about. With this, inhale, fully exhale, right? So I can work on different tempos, different holds as we talked about. But what I really want to show you guys from this position is the idea of implementing the yoga exhale, right? So that kind of foggy sigh or that right? So What that does is actually changes the muscles that are responsible for the exhalation, which is actually going to change and alter the position of my rib cage and the mechanics of the whole entire system, which can get me into a better position, allow me to fill up more, and even increase the stretch that we're talking about by opening up those spots. So getting in there and experimenting in different positions with both of those is a really great idea. So again, I'm reaching, I'm elevating, I'm rotating through the shoulder. My abs are tight, but they're not flattening the ground. Progress by actually lifting. I'm still not flattening out the ground. I'm lifting this all the way up, and I'm keeping that double chin, okay? It's unbelievable how hard that would be, especially if you give it a couple of minutes straight of breathing. Really, really phenomenal thing to work on. So that was kind of our intro to breathing. Hopefully that all makes sense to you. Don't get lost in the sauce in terms of all these details and all these fancy words. Again, diaphragm's a muscle. Strength train just like anything else. My suggestion to you is to challenge yourself to start with 5 minutes a day of focused work and bring awareness to all the breaths you do throughout the day. I don't want to get into too many of the cliches because I probably said them all over my videos anyway. But if there's one thing I could change for you, it's probably the thing keeping you alive, because I know you're going to do your homework. Whether you do it well or not with intent, that's up to you. So when you leave here and you actually get on to the subway, when you go home, when you're sitting at your desk, you're going to breathe anyway. So can you breathe well over time? You'll breathe well without thinking about it, and now we're really killing it. So 5 minutes to start, work up to 20 minutes eventually. When you're doing your Kinstretch work, think about, what's my breathing going on? Did all of a sudden I get into this position and everything just tensed up and I couldn't even release it? Release the tension so you can direct it to where you need it and be able to actually down regulate. So after your workouts, you went hard, you did this, you did that. Just take a couple of minutes, switch from going on the trap music to going to chill radio, melt out a little bit. You'll start the recovery process, and your gains will come in even faster. If you guys have any questions or anything specific, please leave it below. There should be some links below too if you want to hop on any of the things that I just mentioned before in terms of the programs. And we'll see you next time. Appreciate you always.